Hello, you're welcome along to the Matchbook Champions League podcast. It's semi-final time. I'm your host, Daniel Hussey, joined by two of the guys this week, Mark O'Hare and Miguel Delaney. Two fascinating encounters there. We've got Real Madrid versus Manchester City. Obviously, that's on Tuesday night. And then we have the Milan derby, a lot riding on that, on Wednesday night. Before we get going, if you are watching on YouTube, do hit that like button. Get involved in the comments and the live chat if you're watching the live stream. And if you listen on the podcast, we would appreciate a 5-star review. It all helps to make the content get out to a wider audience. We'll get straight into the games here because we want to kind of cover the price in here. And it's Real Madrid versus Manchester City, Champions League first leg, the rematch from last year. We'll take a look at the betting as we have it on matchbook.com. Currently, Real Madrid are 3.35, Manchester City 2.26, with the draw available at 3.7. Both teams to score yes is available at 1.61 with no 2.44. The Asian handicap line sees Real Madrid get a quarter of a goal head start at 2.0. And the total for this game is 2.5, and that's shaded a good bit towards the over there. So we are expecting goals here. Mark O'Hare, set up the game for us. It's obviously a fascinating tie. And look, a lot of people who would have listened to Champions League podcast last year, we kept getting Real Madrid wrong, and they kept surprising us right up to the final as well. So I was fascinated looking at the document Monday morning to see which way you would go here.
I'm going to be pro Real Madrid in this match. We know Man City are the highest rated team on the planet and the highest rated team by quite a distance too, which means they'll always go off very strong favourites, irrespective of who they're playing or where they're playing. An example of that was in the last round against Bayern Munich, where the market moved quite significantly in their favour, both before the first leg and the second leg, despite them not needing to win in Munich, and they went off pretty short prices in both. And I was quite happy to sort of oppose those prices, and happy to do so again because the odds here are saying they've got a 44% chance of winning in Madrid, which feels quite high. I think their price feels a little bit short, really, because you can pick a couple of holes in this Man City team. But, I mean, to start with, just got to give the opposition credit, because I know City are being coached by one of the best coaches in the planet. They've got the best forward in terms of finishing on the planet. They've probably got the best playmaker too. But if you direct kind of comparison the two teams and the two setups, it's Pep versus Ancelotti. Not a huge difference there at all. Benzema versus Haaland, De Bruyne versus Vinicius. I think Real Madrid do actually match up pretty well in most key areas. And team news on Monday suggests that Nathan Ake might be missing, and I think he's been one of the sort of steady eddies, one of the more sort of players of the season, which hasn't kind of come to the fore in the same way as Haaland or De Bruyne may have done. I think he's been brilliant, actually, and that could be a real blow, really, for City. And we just don't know how Pep will look to sort of coordinate his defensive structure coming into this match, because it's worked pretty well as a 3 with the new look system. But knowing Pep Guardiola, he tends to do something a bit different in the big matches that matter. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll have to see. But clearly Real Madrid have the experience, and in terms of the experience, this is their 10th Champions League semi-final in 12 years, which is incredible consistency. And the team has evolved over the last decade or so, and I think we'll see a bit of that in midweek with potentially Camavinga playing left back again. He's done pretty well there for the most part. Fede Valverde filling in midfield as well. His energy to support in attack, but also to drop back and support the defence is quite key. And the fact that this game is in Madrid, they don't lose often at the Bernabeu, and they don't lose too many games by a wide margin either. So Madrid were the strongest side in La Liga this season according to the underlying metrics. They were the highest rated team, despite what Barcelona have achieved. And I think that is kind of saying something. This team is a team. They are capable, and I think they do come to the party in the big matches that matter. So I don't want to dismiss Man City as no hopers at all, because they've got the ability here to go and do a job and do it quite impressively too. But I looked at City's away record in this competition at the quarter-final or the semi-final stage. They've played 9 times under Pep. They've only won twice away during the sort of business end of the competition, both of which were in 2021 at Dortmund and PSG, both by 2-1 margins. And what was interesting is both matches were played behind closed doors because of COVID. So they've not actually won an away Champions League tie at this stage under Pep Guardiola with supporters. We know they're a lot stronger at the Etihad, and if you look at their away performances domestically this season, they have been got at. They lost at Liverpool off the top of my head. They lost at Spurs as well. They haven't often convinced or put in 90-minute performances. I know they won at the Emirates not that long ago, but I think you can sort of pick holes in that price, really. So I thought Real Madrid plus a quarter at 2.02 on the Asian handicap was was worth a look, actually. You're getting paid, basically, if Real Madrid don't lose this match. It's a half stakes if the game ends all square, a full stakes if they do win it. And yeah, I think Real Madrid, fresh from that Copa del Rey win at the weekend, I think they're in a great position right now to go and get something out of this game. I do think City progress over the two legs, but I think Madrid can avoid defeating this one.
Okay, yeah, interesting play there for Mark. He's gone for Real Madrid plus a quarter of a goal at 2.02. And Miguel, I guess I wasn't overly aware of how maybe Manchester City haven't had that marquee win away from home in front of fans in the Champions League, which I think sets this tie up perfectly.
Well, I mean, the last one the game I was at, it was actually just the last of the old era, if you like, just before COVID. And they went, that felt quite diminished Madrid, one that was more in transition than we expected now. But obviously, this Madrid have actually quietly gone about, well, as quietly as you can do as you win the Champions League, building one of the best young squads in Europe, with obviously kind of two veteran stars in Benzema and Modric elevating them. I think this is a fascinating tie for all sorts of reasons, beyond the fact it's a Champions League semi-final, obviously, but also because of how driven it is by last year as well. I mean, you would almost think, given the nature of the way City went out, given the form they're on, that they would want, and like this is what you hear from kind of within the City camp as well, that they want to go out there and make a statement, that they can go and kind of do real damage to Real Madrid. But of course, the danger there is, as Mark has referenced, this is at the Bernabeu. This is a team that knows how to control these games. We saw it earlier on this season, the last 16, with the way they went 2-0 behind to Liverpool, were completely unfazed and just unraveled them. So, and this is the great danger if you go at Madrid. But for all these reasons, and I think with the way City are playing, the Madrid haven't been completely watertight of late. And actually, we saw it in the Spanish Cup final on Saturday, where Osasuna caused them real problems. I think this is going to be much more like, say, the first leg last year than any Madrid City game we've seen recently, or any of the recent Champions League games. I mean, that was a 4-3, obviously, that went, and it ended up being that Madrid's third goal was the one that really cost City. But I'm tempted to go with something similar for that. But I suppose this is just keep it open. I'm going for over 3.5, which is quite high. I think, given the way that first leg went last year, and given these two teams right now, I think unusually high. And actually, and I know we'll get onto it later, but I do think this is going to be two first legs of quite a contrast here.
Okay, yeah, plenty of goals for Miguel. He's gone for over 3.5 goals at 2.9. Mark, before we move on from this game in general, a little bit on, there's been a couple of quotes from Manchester City to win the treble. I've seen a couple of odds against here. You've seen one odds on, which does seem very short. I guess the market expects Manchester City to, well, at least have a 50-50 chance to win the treble, which it blows my mind. But the more you think about it, I guess you can make the argument.
Yeah, you can understand it. It feels quite shocking, actually, when you hear the prices on first glance. But I think 5-4 seems to be the sort of general quote of it, 2.25. But there was an odds-on quote as well last week, which was incredibly shocking. Real Madrid, you still got to overcome those, the best European team in history, basically, over two legs before you even get to play Milan or Inter. And of course, the winner of this tie will be heavily favoured in that final. But as we've seen in the past, Man City, when it comes to big matches in the Champions League, they're not bomb-proof. They are a very short price to beat Manchester United, but that is a huge game, obviously, in the FA Cup. Big City rivals. We expect them to win the Premier League. So, yeah, I think it probably is understandable, the price, but when you hear it at first, it does kind of set you back a little bit until you do sort of do the maths and just work out, actually, there probably are about a 5-4 shot to do this based on the prices. But, yeah, it's not for me.
No, or me, but it just seems... Look, it's probably still going to happen, but it just seems quite incredible when you said that to me. So, yeah, City, just quick on the outright market. City 1.74, Real Madrid 5.2, Inter 7.2, and AC Milan 9.8. And it is those Milan clubs we'll get